The government has unveiled the country's third COVID-19 economic stimulus, which is expected to infuse an estimated 25 billion shillings into the economy. The latest stimulus is skewed heavily towards agriculture, marking a stark departure from the second stimulus, which dedicated a tenth of its resources, or just about 6 billion shillings, to tourism. Julian Samboko now delves into the detail of this latest intervention.
Ever since Kenya reported its first COVID-19 patient in March 2020, the country has had 4 major interventions to countervail the effects of the pandemic on the economy. The first was a raft of taxation measures and moratoria from commercial banks, which is estimated to have been worth 218 billion shillings. The second was an 8-point package valued at 53.7 billion shillings. The third was a 23.1 billion shillings provision in the national budget tabled in June. And the latest is a package expected to infuse 25 billion shillings into the economy.
The National Treasury will allocate 1 billion shillings to support the fertilizer subsidy for our small-scale tea farmers. To safeguard the livelihoods of farmers within our nation's sugar belt, I direct the National Treasury to allocate an additional 1.5 billion shillings in aid of the sugar sector that will be appropriated towards factory maintenance and payment of farmer arrears. Noting the effects of the ongoing drought situation, the National Treasury to allocate 1.5 billion to support the communities affected by the ongoing drought.
Skeptics have, however, poked holes into the latest economic stimulus. The Institute of Economic Affairs argues that in the grand scheme of things, the package is too small and too fragmented for an economy which contracted by 0.3% in 2020.
If you calculate today's 25 billion Kenya shillings, it's less than even 1% of GDP. So I'm not too sure you can call it a stimulus in the conventional sense of it. I think they're also too scattered. 25 billion across 13 different heads suggests to me that the money will be so highly spread that the stimulus effect might not be felt.
In the latest pronouncement, the government has announced drastic measures aimed at easing access to credit in the economy, including resumption of moratoria on listing on the Credit Reference Bureau for some who run into financial headwinds.
That the relevant authorities will, for loans less than 5 million, effect a moratorium of listings in CRBs for a period of 12 months to the end of September 2022.
The threshold of 5 million is pretty high, and actually most of the people who will be there are not small and micro enterprises, because most small and micro enterprises don't borrow at those rates. But he has a point. That point is some of what has been the subject of listing by CRBs and some of the complaints that we've seen are ridiculous sums, and I'm not too sure that that gives meaning to a report related to creditworthiness and credit listing.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has further directed the Petroleum Ministry to come up with a framework for stabilization of pump prices. This comes just 5 days after the Petroleum Products Taxes and Levies Amendment Bill of 2021 was published. Julian Samboko, NTV.